In this video, I will share exact steps how I was able to overcome hopelessness and regain trust in myself and positive future, and how I believe in my heart you can do too. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Diana and I help women with self-esteem issues to overcome their limitations and regain self-trust and courage to create positive change so they can answer their heart's calling and proudly live their purpose. And today I want to talk with you about hopelessness. So this is not going to be a light video. This is going to be a bit heavy conversation, but I think it's also a very important one because we cannot really avoid those more negative and darker emotions in life, and we have to deal with them as well, and it is good if we can have some support, and this is why I wanted to make this video. Everything I will share today comes from my own personal experience. This is how I have overcome my struggle and my hopelessness, and I truly hope that the tips that I have for you today will help you and support you in case you have to go through something similar. Before I move on to share the tips that I have for you, I just want to tell you that there are actually some instances when hope is very detrimental and when actually hopelessness is a good thing. And it is in those occasions when we are kind of stuck in a loop, in a negative situation, and we hope that something would change. For example, we may be in a relationship that is abusive and toxic, but we don't want to change anything about that, and we keep hoping that our partner would change, and so we actually stay in that situation, which is very, very bad for us. So in this case, hope is simply keeping up that wall of delusion that we have built for ourselves, which prevents us from seeing the reality for what it is. In this video, we are not going to talk about that type of hope and that type of situations, but in case you find yourself stuck in this kind of situation, then I suggest you go and watch my video about accepting and embracing change, which I will link here in this video, so that you can have some ideas how you can get yourself out of that state. Okay, but now let's come back to the hopelessness. The type of hopelessness that we are talking about today. Whenever we are dealing with hopelessness, we are also dealing with a desire of some sort, or perhaps there is an unmet need of some sort. And what tends to happen in the case when we end up feeling hopeless is that perhaps when we think about our needs and desires, we also think about the way we want to meet those needs and realize those desires, and perhaps we have a very specific and concrete picture in our minds how that should look like. Perhaps it's based on our beliefs, perhaps it's something that we have observed how it happens to other people, and now we believe that this is the exact way it will happen to ourselves. Basically, what ends up happening is that we create limitations for our desires to be manifested, and we want that things happen as we want them to happen within those constraints that we have put for ourselves. And actually here I would like to show you a little animation to help you get a better understanding what I mean. Okay, so this is you and this is your desire. And if it happens that our desires cannot get fulfilled in this limited area that we have created for our desires, then we start to feel worse and worse about ourselves, and in time that builds up and creates this massive feeling, this heavy feeling of hopelessness. It's basically a huge wall that we have built around ourselves, and we are living inside that wall, and we try to get our needs met, we try to realize our dreams and desires, but it's not working. And hopelessness kicks in when we have tried everything that was in our control. But what is the way out of this? How can we improve our state, and how can we get over that? So what we must do is, instead of clinging on our desire and seeing how it is not being realized, we have to let it go. And when we let go of our desires, it doesn't mean that we give up on them. It means that we have trust in the universe and also in ourselves, that we will find a way to manifest that desire, and we will be given opportunities from the universe or other people or the external environment to get our needs met and to get what we want. So this is that state where there are no walls being built up, when nothing restricts the potential of manifestation, and when things basically take their natural place and the flow is not restricted in any way. This is where the creation and manifestation can happen freely, and where we can feel that we are breathing with the universe, that we are in line with ourselves and with the world around us. And this is a very beautiful and harmonious way to live and to be. How do we let go of our desires, and how do we build that trust? These are the two most important questions here. So how do we let go of our desires? Well, in my experience, there is only one way that works always, and it is total surrender to what is. This way works all the time, but it's also not easy to get to that point when we are ready to totally surrender to both our desire and ourselves not having what we want. And this cannot be faked. That is the hardest part. It cannot be faked. Imagine yourself, I don't know, I always, whenever I am in that state and whenever I'm trying to totally surrender, I always imagine myself meeting my creator. So I imagine approaching this higher power and talking to this higher power with this place of humbleness and total openness, when I just openly and honestly express what I have in my heart, my deepest pain, my deepest disappointments and suffering, and my deepest wishes, what I want and what I cannot have or don't see a way of having that. It feels like falling on the ground, giving up all your defenses, ripping your soul wide open against the heaven. That is the best way I can describe it. It cannot be faked. That feeling, stepping into that state of being, it is a massive release of that, all the physical, emotional, and mental energy that was there and was putting that wall in place. And there is this massive instant sense of relief that comes with it, that comes with being in this state. I'm not sure whether I was able to explain it to you in a way that makes any sense, but what I was trying to tell you is that if you want to totally surrender to what is and to let go of your desires, you have to feel those desires, you have to feel that fire, and you have to feel that despair, and you have to feel yourself, your truth, and you have to be completely open and willing to express all that. and also your inability to get there, to be that person, to get your dreams realized, whatever is going on for you. If you can be in the presence of all those heavy, uncomfortable feelings and emotions, but also what you truly want in your heart, and when you are very honest about the purity of your desire, then there is something magical that happens in that moment. And that release follows. And it's a very powerful thing that you can experience. The wall breaks down instantly. And from that total surrender, we can start to build ourselves up bit by bit and build that trust that we so need. And I would like to start from the very bottom, and let's imagine that you feel absolutely hopeless and devastated, and perhaps you feel that your whole life is being destroyed, and you are desperate and really, really, you feel very, very bad. And what can you do if you are almost completely destroyed? The one thing that will help you the most is self-love, in order to build that trust in yourself back up. And how can you love yourself? That can be the hardest thing on the whole planet to do if you feel the way you feel at that point. Perhaps the last thing that you can do is love yourself. Perhaps you hate yourself at that point. Perhaps you don't have any strength to do anything. Even though I totally understand that, I have been there, I have felt like that myself multiple times. There is this one thing I want you to consider, and it is that actually, whatever we do, we always try to help ourselves. And ultimately, everything we do is to make the pain stop, even if we have to self-destruct. So even the most self-destructive behavior is actually only there to help us not feel pain, to make the pain go away. So one way or another, we still try to help ourselves. It is still in our best interest to behave the way we behave towards ourselves. And that is why self-love makes sense here at this point. And when you are at your worst, just ask yourself this question: what do I need the most right now? And when you have your answer, ask the next question: what's the best way I can meet that need? So this is how you start eventually build that self-trust. You build up the belief that you can trust yourself, that you will at least try to meet your needs. One more thing that I would like to mention here is that oftentimes that deeply seated feeling of hopelessness and helplessness actually comes from our childhood, and it has to do with how we were raised, and when we were very little, when we were not able to take care of our needs ourselves, and we were totally dependent on our parents or caregivers. And what we must recognize at this moment is that now we are adults, and perhaps that feeling of hopelessness and helplessness is not necessarily a correct reflection of our actual capability of taking care of ourselves. Perhaps it represents that little child we were back then, and perhaps those feelings are the ones that our child self experienced long ago. And now actually we are fully capable of, if not meeting the need directly, then at least figuring out ways how to do that. So actually, we may be more resourceful than we give ourselves credit for at this moment. So that's why it's important that we ask, what is the need, that we name the need specifically, and that we ask ourselves what's the best way that we can meet that need. Perhaps we just need a hug. We need somebody to come and hold us. And if there's nobody around, nobody can come and do that for us, then what's the best way that we can give it to ourselves? Perhaps we just need to wrap ourselves in a blanket and crawl into a little ball and just stay like that and cry for an hour. Perhaps we need to take a warm bath. Perhaps we need to do other things that we find comforting, but we need to provide that comfort for ourselves. And when we are adults, we can actually do that. It's not that we are little babies and we are absolutely helpless of taking care of ourselves. And keep asking this question, what do I need right now, whenever you feel bad? And keep meeting that need however you can. And in time, your needs will change and your ability to meet those needs will also change. And you will start to slowly build that trust in yourself up. And trust me, it will make wonders when it comes to self-trust if you follow this approach. Okay, the next thing is unconditional presence, which is also very, very important here. You have to give yourself time, and you have to be patient with yourself and willing to be present with yourself when you are not okay. This is another very important element in building that trust. You don't force yourself to be better. You don't put any expectations on yourself to improve or to be in a certain way. There are no expectations and no standards that you compare yourself with. You are who you are in that moment. You feel what you feel in that moment, and you are fine with that. It can take some time to build that patience, to become patient with yourself and be willing to sit with the way you are. But if you are able to give yourself that, and actually that is something that so many of us miss so much deep down, and if you can give that to yourself, you will see improvement. I can promise you that, because there are not many of us who have experienced that when we were little children, when we were growing up, because we were constantly told to behave in a certain way, to feel in a certain way. We were told that it is not okay to feel that way or to do that thing or to act in that way. So we suppressed that, and we never got to fully meet the need of being who we are in the moment, feeling the way we felt in the moment, and we didn't experience that others are validating our feelings and that our feelings are fine, they are okay, they represent accurately who we are and in that moment. So patience and time here is important. When I say time, I'm not referring to time as this force that heals everything. Actually, I don't believe that time heals anything. Time just helps us forget. The time here comes with the patience. You don't know how much time you will need to improve, to get better, and you are fine with that. You trust. This is that element of trust. You trust in yourself that you will know when the time is right for you to become better, to feel better, and to change something about the way you are. So this is step number 2, or the other thing that is very important to help you build the self-trust to overcome hopelessness. Now, hopefully, if you have been following these practices, you already feel a bit better about yourself, and you are not as desperate and pessimistic as you were when you started. And now it's time when you can start to perhaps introduce some hope-enhancing beliefs. And you don't have to force yourself to believe in something that you don't actually believe in, but this is where your intention is important and where your curiosity is important. So you could ask yourself this simple question: what beliefs could serve me to help me get my hope back? So I have prepared some beliefs that could be helpful for you. So for example, universe is abundant and has my best interest in mind, or universe wants to meet my needs and fulfill my desires, and the natural state of my needs is to be met so I can have plenty to share. Of course, you can come up with your own beliefs, but simply make sure that you are trying to build a more abundant image of the universe around you, or whatever you call it, the world, the external environment, whatever words speak to you and whatever words you believe are true. So this is really that step when you try to shift your mind and see things in a more positive light, when you are trying really to trust that you will be fine. And I have one more step for you to share, and it is about taking risks. This is when you already feel pretty good in yourself, when you kind of have that trust that perhaps things will be fine at the end, and you are being very present with yourself and you are doing your best to take care of yourself, to meet your needs, to love yourself the best way you can. Then it's time for you to go on an adventure. And this is where you have fun and where you take risks, and this is how you put your newly installed beliefs to test. And you observe yourself, you observe how you go through that adventure, how you take those risks, and how you end up being fine. And this is also that moment when you completely shift your focus away from your unfulfilled desire or unmet needs, or that heavy hopelessness that you were feeling back then, and that despair and all those very dark feelings. And when you shift to this state of being light, of feeling playful and happy and joyful and ready to embark on that journey, to have fun, to entertain yourself, to really, it's this adventure that you are now embarking on, and this will definitely shift your energy, and you will find yourself in that state where things just flow freely. They come to you freely, you let them go freely, and nothing is ever stuck. Everything is free to manifest, to come to you when the time is right. So hopefully, if you have been able to follow this process, then you can come to a point where those two beliefs that I'm about to show you resonate strongly with yourself. And those beliefs are: I trust that my desire is taken care of and that it will manifest in the perfect time and way when I'm the most ready for it. I trust that I will be able to take the right action to get my desire realized and prepare myself for receiving. So now you have trust both in the universe, in other people, and yourself. So just to briefly recap everything that we were talking about in this video, the first most important thing that you have to realize when you are dealing with hopelessness is that there are some kind of unmet needs or unfulfilled desires who are fueling that hopelessness, and for some reason you cannot take care of them. Then the next thing you do is you have to recognize how you are holding on to those desires and how you focus on the lack, and how that mindset and that attitude is actually preventing you from manifesting freely what you need and want. Then it's time for you to let go of your desire, and the best way to do that, which works every time, is radical surrender, total surrender. And then what you do, you build trust. You build trust by showing love to yourself. You build trust by being very patient with yourself, being present with yourself. You start to install hope-enhancing beliefs, and finally you take risks. You go on adventure to test your newly installed beliefs and to just enjoy yourself and have a lot of fun in the process. Hopefully that this process that I just shared with you, which have helped me a lot, will also help you, and that you find it inspiring and useful to try out. And if you would like to have even more support, consider downloading my free workbook. I have created 12 exercises there to help you connect with yourself deeply and create a happier life. And I especially recommend you to do 2 exercises, which are Tears to Diamonds and Release Ceremony. If you download my workbook, you will see what those exercises are, and I really hope that they could help you a lot if you are currently dealing with hopelessness. And also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and comment, and also do consider subscribing, as I will be making more videos like this. Okay, that's it for today's episode. I wish you all the best, and I'll talk to you soon in my next video. Take care.